We like it. And now look at this one. That's the latissimus. So now we go into the back. We have the pec in the front. They do that. That's great. But how are we going to go back there? I don't know how to go back there. We need a muscle back there too. So we get a few. We get the latissimus dorsi, and we're also going to get the teres major. The latissimus dorsi, look at that big old attachment site. It comes from the crest of the ilium, all that lumbodorsal fascia, all that stuff that's attached to all that bone in here and all that, and deeper penetrate. So like the pec in the front, it's just from below. And it goes, oh look, like the pec, intertubercular groove. It just comes from the back. So when that muscle works, it does super extension, it does adduction, and it does a little medial rotation, which is this. Guess what you're doing with this motion. So that's the swimmer. So look at this guy. These are Olympic people. This is Michael Phelps in comparison. He's not a human.
His arms are also like 12 inches longer than everybody else's.
I know. Well, the problem with this guy is, man, he's old. You know how heavy that stuff is? You're working on some swimmers and then they get shoulder problems. It's not that easy. They have to lift all that stuff up. At least he got gold medal for it. That's good, right? But that just impressed me how, yeah, I mean, he's also taller and bigger, but how the size of that muscle is just humongous.
This butterfly does it to you too.
Yeah, that's the teres major now, sorry, is the one that's similar to the latissimus, coming from all the way down here, reaching into the arm. This one just, it's a little sliver that's attached to the tip of the shoulder blade. But it's the same, it's a helper. It's a helper, it's a synergist to the latissimus dorsi. So it's the same insertion for our purpose, just the starting point, the origin is different.
Is this over the minor, or is there something covering this muscle, or no?
Well, look, the latissimus is kind of covering it. The minor is higher up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the model here, that's the major, that's the minor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, the major is the big one on the bottom, and the minor is sort of slivery in the middle.
Gotcha.
Because that brings me now to the elbow. We have covered up here. We can lift it up. We can bring it in. We can bring it back. We're pretty good. At least, well, we got some clavius. We got a few small ones, but for the most part, that's pretty good. And now we get to move the elbow. And so now we got a few muscles that move the elbow. We got our most famous biceps brachii. So the biceps, it's growing though, I'm going to the gym. The biceps is the most superficial one that we associate with flexing the elbow, bringing the elbow in. It's actually in the name that it is a two-bellied muscle. It says biceps. Bi means two. Alright, so that's again, you're looking at these names. The most important thing in this study is you're slowing everything down and you're looking at names. Don't just read over things too fast. Because most of the fluffy language, you just cut it out. It doesn't matter. That's why I make a platform. Or that's how I do, why I do it. So this muscle starts two places, two belly. One, it starts at the coracoid process, where the coracobrachialis also starts. And the other place is right in the glenoid on top, where that little flat thing is, on top of that starts. And so one of the bellies goes straight down, and the other one goes through the intertubercular groove, through it. So we don't want that tendon to pop out. That could be a problem. Like sometimes is a problem. And then from there, where it goes into the radial tuberosity. We'll have it right here. It also has a thing going into the ulna a little bit, but the radial tuberosity is the one that's interesting to us as the main one, because that's right here. That's that bump that we learned for the radius underneath the head and the neck. Because if you have your arm down and your elbow, your forearm bones are crossed over, the radius over the ulna, the muscle coming from up here that attaches down in here, when it pulls on it, it's going to turn that back out. So the biceps brachii becomes a muscle that does supination. It's very powerful. It's two muscles doing pronation and two muscles doing supination. And that muscle's doing supination. It pulls it back up. So that's the biceps brachii. Underneath the biceps brachii, we got the powerful muscle called the brachialis. That's why maybe you study this area being the brachial area, because you've got 3 muscles so far that have that name in it. There's 4 altogether. So the biceps brachii is sort of the underneath one that makes the biceps look good, because it pushes the biceps up. If you have big biceps, you know the brachialis is big. So that's attached to the shaft of the humerus, and it goes into we should just say, anterior proximal ulna. I wrote down coronoid process, which is the technical place. We don't study that. Too many terms. But that's where it is, right here. It doesn't go into the radius, it goes into the ulna. So that's basically just those flexion elbow. I mean, if you notice the biceps brachii, and something that's also interesting about it is it spans 2 joints. 1, 2. So it does this, but it also helps a little bit in this. Not much, but it helps a little bit. If I say that, it's probably more than I think, huh? But the brachialis is only going 1 joint. So that's a pure motion from that perspective.
It's just a deeper muscle than the
And it's a
bicep.
deeper muscle, so it can be the main mover of the biceps is a synergist type. I mean, the biceps is strong in its own right, but we need a lot of juice in that arm, as much as we can get. And then this is the 4th brachial muscle. That's the brachioradialis, and that's the tennis elbow one. So people get tennis elbow have that in trouble, because that muscle is attached right here. Well, let's put it here, right here. On the what am I doing? Yeah, no, right here on the distal part of the humerus in the front, and then it anchors into the radial stylum. That's that tip down here by the thumb that can hurt. And so the motion it does, it flexes the elbow joint, because it only spans 1 joint. But it really does help with this motion. When you really bring it from here, you swing something up fast. Because the muscle attached here and here, that's a good puller. But if you really need to flick it fast, you want that one going down as well. Now look at tennis. You do this all the time. You bring it up fast. So that muscle wears out. It pulls on this, which is the adhesance, the insertion, or the origin, but the attachment to the bone. And it starts hurting it. And so what we do in tennis, we can take a brace that goes around, that has a point that it pushes down, and it sort of pushes down into the muscle, and almost like it takes pressure off the original origin, makes another little origin type thing. And that's how that works. I wonder what happens when we do muscle stimulation on that. I haven't really done it as a sort of a series of people, but I'm going to get to it. I know it's coming up soon.
If a muscle starts to pull off of its point of origin, can it reknit itself? Or are you
It's a neurological shut-off. It's when a muscle pulls too hard, in order for it not to rip, the muscle gets deactivated at the place where it anchors into the bone.
Huh.
So you got these fibers, here, they call them Sharpie's fibers. They're like anchors, like you visualize an anchor. If they get pulled off, they get deactivated. They don't get pulled off, but they deactivate the muscle function because it would be too dangerous.
A fail-safe, yeah.
That's why when you rub these areas in person that is deactivated, you rub where it attaches, it stimulates it. And it's one of the fundamental pieces of the main work that I do a lot of times is muscle stimulation. There's more to that, but you can start with that. That's one technique, because when you look at massage, very often it's here. When you look at the trigger point people, don't worry about the origin insertion. I mean, I read some stuff you know, some manuals that say, don't worry about the origin insertion, it's all in the middle of the belly. I'm like, oh good, I'll pay attention to the origin insertion, do something different. But you know, it's often ignored because it's also painful. But I have 85-year-old ladies and I worked on their origin and it hurts, but they don't get bruised. I work in the middle of the belly, they get bruised. So I'm not sure sometimes anymore, well, you know, in that respect. That's just try both and see what works better, depending on the patient.
But the body will cut off the nerves so you can't injure the muscle, it sounds like.
Right, that's the thing. The body, that's exactly right. The body has a mechanism where the muscle gets turned off, so it doesn't have to get injured again. Like you twisting your ankle, and you cannot walk without this hurting like crazy. Guess your body says, we don't need that muscle necessarily, we're still pretty stable. We can still walk. And so you walk, of course you trip faster again. That's why they want to train that muscle. But if we rewire that with the brain somehow, with the wobbly exercise that the brain has to fire inward, if the afferents are so important, then you can re-stimulate that muscle. And then, you know, that's what I do with that AME technique from Utah, that the sports people tell me that works so great because you re-stimulate muscle. But you can do it on a wobble board, on a non-compressing foam balance pad, on a Bosu ball. You can restructure that, and you can do all the joints that way. The less stability that you give a joint when you work out the muscle, the more feedback needs to go into the brain for stability, the less injury you're going to create, and the more stability you will create. Make sense? I know you do all that anyway, right?
Oh, sure. That's why I never get hurt.
Oh, that's right. And then, so we got all these muscles in the front that do this. Now we got to figure out who's going to straighten that elbow out again. We got one big kahuna because we want to get home. They only made one for that. It's the triceps brachii. Tri means three. So this one has three heads. It's kind of like the front, you got the biceps and the brachialis. Here you just got one doing everything. But it's still three heads. So you got a head that comes from the infraglenoid tubercle of the humerus down here, at the glenoid, down in here by the shoulder blade. It goes into the tip of the elbow. They all go to the tip of the elbow. And the tip of the elbow is the olecranon process. So one starts up here, and then the other one starts in the shaft of the humerus, posteriorly. They extend the elbow. It's good enough work.